Welcome to the CCCNews Podcast. This week, we are welcoming Scott Baker, the Executive Director of Northern Wasco County Parks and Recreation District. Scott is just coming off his 7th year as the director there, and he's going to get us tuned in to what's going on in parks and what we can look forward to in the near future.
Thanks for having me.
Are you looking to start a podcast? Or do you need help getting your own off the ground? Contact us at news@cccnews.com. We offer a variety of services so we can help get your ideas into reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's amazing that it's been 7 years.
It went pretty fast, huh?
It did.
Been busy.
Yeah, and then to be, right out of the gate hit with the tree situation at Sorosis.
Right.
Was pretty impactful.
When did that start? When did you become aware of that? Was that like 2018? Was it within a couple of years? Are you getting?
I became aware of the problem my first tour of Sorosis.
Oh.
I noticed that the trees were dying, and then took our first round of trees down in 2017.
Wow, huh?
So I started October 2016. Wasn't aware that there was a problem coming in and accepting the job, but as soon as I walked up at Sorosis, I saw the dramatic tree death, and I'm like, wow, this is a problem. Or what have you been doing about this? What's the district been doing about it? And the answer was largely nothing to that point.
Wow. So you're stuck with a situation there. That's a tough spot to be, being new, and then realizing that the grand jewel of the park system here in the Dalles is going to have
under serious threat.
Is under serious, and you're going to have to make some hard calls, right?
Yes,
or maybe it wasn't a hard call. I don't know.
Well, no, I think that it was. We just took 17 trees down that first year. There was no budget for this. And so we did a tree felling class taught by the Oregon Department of Forestry.
Yeah.
And then had people come and learn chainsaw safety and then fell and buck up the trees for us. That was the only way we could get it done without spending any dollars.
Right.
And then in that next budget cycle, budgeted some, took down 55 trees. It wasn't enough. Then realized we needed to create a fire, kind of a break to try and 110 trees, and people just lost their minds.
Yeah. Well,
and then, all told, it was 785 trees came down.
785 trees?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Which left 785 stumps to clean up.
Yeah, right.
And then just irrigation destroyed.
Yeah, that's a pretty major undertaking.
Yeah, and then finding the funds to do it.
Yeah. So when once you walked in, was there what thoughts were going through your mind on that first tour when you were looking at those trees and knowing what was to come? I mean,
well, at that point, and maybe being overly optimistic, I still believed in 2017 that we could get ahead of it.
Yeah.
And actually carried that belief through 2018 and 19. By that time, I was waking up to the realization that we weren't going to be able to save a single ponderosa pine there. I had 3 arborists.
Yeah.
All 3 of them told me the same thing. And I'm like, well, I got to just stop hiring people, hoping that someone's going to tell me what I want to hear, and just accept that this is what we have to do and make a plan. And I think that now here in 2023, I came from the park, and I think we've really made some lemonade.
Yeah,
and it's starting to look good. And I ran into a couple. They've just moved here from Texas. Super nice people. And they were just gushing, overflowing with joy about the park and how great it was. And somewhere in that conversation, it dawned on me that they never saw the before picture.
Right.
They're just seeing it now. And it was, for me, it's still a little heartbreaking going up there, knowing what it was like. But I'm seeing it through their eyes for the first time and going, yeah, it's really come a long way. And it is a beautiful park. And it's just getting better and better. And we've got a lot of work coming up here. Some is going right now.
Well, let me take a break from that for just a sec. So there has also been a fundraising in relation to Sorosis, and have you guys? I think it was 400,000. You guys were trying to reach.
We had set a goal of 347,000.
Thank you.
And surpassed that. We hit 360.
Nice.
And climbing. Checks are still trickling in.
Yeah.
And so with that, we're able just to do more, increase our levels of planting, and so. a portion of that money's already been spent. So we're adding trail and rehabilitating portions of the existing trail.
Okay.
And that work's happening now and is wrapping up this week.
Yeah.
And then just after Labor Day, fall of 2024, we'll be replacing Treetop Playground.
Wow. So we got a lot going on this next summer.
Yeah, we're busy at the Park District.
Well, and you've just been busy for the past, you've been busy ever since I've been covering you. I mean, just this summer you had the mountain bike skills park put in, which that kind of came out of the blue, like pretty fun. And then you've done the skate park improvements, and now you're adding a pump track. But tell me a little bit about that, like how that all kind of came together in a short, maybe 4 or 5 months.
We were just at the mercy of this. Velo Solutions is a very popular company. They build the best pump tracks in the world. We wanted the best.
Yeah.
We didn't want second best. And so we waited for their construction schedule where they could fit us in. Mm-hmm. And we got it done. So we actually just in this last hour opened up the fences.
Oh, my gosh.
And the pump track is ready to ride. The project's not complete. We still have light poles to install, so the pump track and skate park is going to be lit.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a really great thing for our skaters and riders.
Yeah.
And then we have, after those come in, then we'll follow it with soil and sod and the landscaping. And so you've got that. You've got the bike park right next door. Of course, you got the pool. Mm-hmm. So Thompson Park is really becoming a center of recreation. Yeah. And that's why we felt it was so important for people to be able to get to that destination safely,
right?
Especially from the west side of town.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the driving force behind taking on and accelerating this Mill Creek Greenway.
Okay, and I was going to ask you that. Yeah, can we get an update on the Mill Creek Greenway?
Yeah, so ODOT has just finished the engineering.
Okay.
And so they're preparing the package, and we've been working to refine the scope of work. They just sent it over for me to review. It's 214 pages long.
Oh, my.
If that gives you any idea of the complexity of this project.
Right.
So that's going to go out to bid here this month. And this is a great time to put things out to bid. As contractors are finishing up their summer work, they're looking up to the years ahead. We're hoping that we get a lot of interest in this project.
Yeah.
It's a $3 million project.
Okay.
To connect 2nd Street and 6th Streets with an 8 to 12 foot wide asphalt bike and pedestrian path. It will be accessible to everybody. And so, we're doing a lot of earthwork to make the grade appropriate for folks in a chair with mobility issues. And then this is the toughest section in what we call the Mill Creek Greenway. And then what that will do is it will eventually extend beyond 6th Street, connect up with 8th Place, where Valvoline is now. It used to be Oil Can Henry's. The Park District has some property behind them. Mm-hmm. We'll build a bridge, land there, get you up to 8th. And then the street behind Cascade Commons is really wide. We think we can have a protected bike route there. Mm-hmm. That gets you to Kramer Field.
Okay.
We can get safely across Kramer Field, and now you start connecting up that west side, not just to the pool, but to the downtown.
And the aquatic center and all the other facilities.
And everything that we've got going on there. And so, kids...
So that provides a clear pathway for
kids to... Because the streets are busy.
Yeah.
You think about 6th Street, with all of those... driveways going in and out to all the fast food and everything. It's not a great place for a kid to ride.
Yeah.
10th is super busy. And so we want a protected way to bring the west side to the pool, to the recreation that we have there. And then that connects eventually to the Riverfront Trail. And so you start to build all these little pieces at a time. And trail projects, especially in an urban setting, they just take years and years.
Yeah.
But once you get them in and they get used, they're so valuable, and they just raise the quality of life for so many people.
Yeah. I've visited Ashland, Oregon, and the pedestrians are first and foremost in that community, it seems like. Have you taken some inspiration? Do you have some places that you've seen that, have a really pedestrian-friendly kind of area, or not, but setup or design, excuse me.
Yeah, so I have.
Okay.
And in fact, I've taken a lot of inspiration from some travels in New Zealand.
Okay.
And, the whole country is about the size of Oregon.
Yep.
They really prioritize away from outside of the right-of-way, bike paths and parks and pocket parks. And I'm kind of a nerd on designing public spaces.
Yeah.
So I've been fortunate that I've been able to travel. and I've traveled extensively through Europe, India, Asia, and everywhere I go, I'm kind of looking and seeing how do people congregate, where do they congregate. One of the things that's I find really interesting and important as a society is having that third place to go, a place that's not home, that's not work. It's a third place.
Ah, gotcha.
As a public park or public square. And so I watch, and so my travel partners will sometimes jab me in the ribs a little bit. And like, are you working on vacation again? Because they'll see me studying all the little spots. And I'm like, it's just hardwired, know, because as someone who creates public space, I want to do it well.
Yeah.
And I want to do it in a way that serves our community. Yeah. And everybody's different. And so I get excited when I hear about projects like a potential Federal Street Plaza, or all these little things throughout the town. That's one of the things I really liked about being on the Urban Renewal Board, is being kind of keyed into this placemaking aspect of our downtown.
Very good. And, are you still involved with Urban Renewal?
I am, and then we have a new board member who shares my enthusiasm and excitement for it, Marcus Swift. Okay, and he's going to be our Park District representative on that board.
Okay, great.
So so he's all about it, and I think he's going to do a great job for us too.
Huh. From what I was seeing, maybe 5 that are permanent year-round full staff?
Yeah, so we have 5 full-time people, and the rest are part-time.
Yeah, and then how many acres do you have in parks? I mean, it must be, I know you have 8 parks.
Yeah, so we manage 200 acres.
Yeah, so that's...
So we are well under the national average for that. We've got other data centers coming online.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're more fiscally sound than we've ever been. Yeah. We have really put a lot of effort on the front end to do that long range planning. The Park District before had never had a capital facilities master plan. We completed one in 2019.
Great.
We got a lot of community feedback in English and Spanish, and that guided our decisions in our plan for that 20-year horizon.
Yep.
And the people let us know what they wanted, and it was a lot.
Right. Hi, this is Tom Peterson with CCC News. Did you know that we reach over 100,000 unique readers every month? It's a great place to advertise for local businesses who are looking to grow their customer base. Reach out to us at news@cccnews.com. We look forward to helping you. Well, to that note too, the one that does keep popping up every so often is a dog park here in the Dalles. And to your point that you have so many people and so much budget capacity to maintain parks, is that looking feasible? Is there a chance that we may get a dog park or a park dedicated to dogs? I guess.
Yeah, right. So the off leash area at Firehouse is less than ideal. The soil up there is just solid clay. Water tends to pool and puddle on it rather than percolate down, and that requires us to close it periodically in the winter months, because otherwise the dogs will just tear up the grass. And to keep it looking good, it has to have a seasonal closure. We don't love it, but it is what it is, and it's making do for right now. But to your point, that dog park was about 7th on the list.
Okay.
And so, it's philosophically, it's important. Like if you're going to ask folks what they want,
right,
and they tell you, then you try and do what they want. Now, that said, funding has a way of moving things up the list.
Right.
And so even if something maybe scored a little bit lower, if we're successful getting grant money, then it moves up the list. And a lot of times that grant money is very, very specific. In the case of like the Mill Creek Greenway, it's not like we had $3 million given to us and we chose to spend it that way. No, we applied for a grant that could only be used for bike and pedestrian paths outside the right-of-way.
All right.
Well, we happen to have one of those projects. We submitted a grant application because that's how we're going to get the most out of our SDCs.
Yeah.
And we were successful. So it rises right up.
Yeah. Hey, and to that on the Mill Creek, so you said you're getting your documents put together, going to try and get it out to bid and that kind of thing. What's the timeline on that? I know we were in our first reporting of it, we were hoping for 2 to 3 years or something like that. But is it pushed out a little bit further now, or where are we at?
It is, and and ODOT has staffing issues of their own.
Okay.
So the desk that was supposed to be working on this was empty for quite some time. And that is just kind of the nature of the job market. I think that we're all experiencing right now.
Okay.
So my fingers are crossed that we're going to get somebody to bid on this project. And my experience tells me that if we get a successful bidder, they're not going to want to wait to do the project, right? Because they're going to be bidding it at a specific price.
Yeah.
They know that price is going to change.
Right.
And so they're going to be strongly incentivized to get that project done as soon as possible because they're going to need to meet that dollar amount.
Okay.
It's not like that dollar amount's going to change once the contract's awarded.
Let's just do best case, worst case. So best case scenario, maybe you get somebody working this summer, next fall.
Yeah, I would love to have somebody start in 2024.
Okay.
And get it done by fall 2025.
Yeah.
And you know, if that feels like a long time to your listeners, public improvement projects do take a long time. And you know, we weren't going to do it without this grant. The Park District doesn't have $2.6 million to spend on this project. So I go, okay, gift horse, can't look it in the mouth too closely. You know, we're going to be on their timeline. We're going to stay positive, and it's going to get done.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to jump back into the money for just a second too. I was looking at the SDCs, and those kind of hit that 6,000 mark for a single family residence at this point?
Yes, and so now, so when we did the capital facilities plan, and folks gave us this laundry list of things that they want to see in town, so many of which are just so reasonable. A basketball court.
Right.
We don't have a basketball court in our system. We can do better. We need to build a basketball court, right?
Sure.
And so, you know, so they gave us this list, and then that list became the driver of updating our system development charges, you know, which Ben just did a study not too long ago that really SDCs experienced about a 5-year rate of return.
Yeah.
You know, and so people want to move to a community with a robust park system.
Right.
People also feel that the people who move here and develop properties and add to the population should bear the cost of providing services for those new people, rather than saddling the folks who have lived here with those costs to increase capacity for that expanded population.
Yeah.
And so that philosophy is what drives that SDC amount.
Do you get some pushback from developers and folks who are building in regards to that?
No, we talk to builders. We talk to the homeowners associations. You know, and we are comparable to the other
I think
cities
so.
around here.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wants to know, are we less than Hood River? And we are. But, you know, but it's also Bend. You know, if a builder builds in Lake Oswego where they're around 21,000, boy, we sure look good.
Right.
But, and it's just for new development. You know, if somebody's house burns down, they're not paying a Parks SDC to rebuild.
Right.
This is for people who are moving here and need to share in that cost of providing park services for that new development. Our board, because it was such a rise, it went from $1,700 to $4,000. They chose, we could have charged $6,200 that first year.
Sure.
Our board decided to phase it in over 3 years and then tie the escalation to a cost index. And so in January, we get an engineering news report. It tells you what the labor and material costs and everything for building are. And then we tie our increase to that index.
Well, Scott, I was kind of looking back. You joined us, like you said, 7 years ago. You just experienced your anniversary here on Halloween. That's fantastic. I saw that you were about 13 years or so over at the Hood River Valley.
Yeah, 15 years in Hood River.
Okay, and then I read this fascinating little piece that you were an education major with an outdoor leadership minor. Yeah. Okay. And so when you first came into Parks, you were actually maybe looking at middle school science teacher, possibly?
Yeah. So I was going to serve as I was set up to be a long-term sub for Hood River School District.
Okay.
I'm hoping to join their team. You know, I found Hood River through that using my outdoor leadership. I was working at a wilderness therapy program for boys.
Here in Oregon?
No, in North Carolina.
Okay.
But we would do trips. And so I ended up spending a summer leading trips in the North Cascades and the San Juan Islands. So we did a week of mountaineering, a week of sea kayaking. And in between leading those trips, I had a week or so off. And I just heard about this thing called the Gorge Games.
Okay.
All right, back in the 2000s, early 1999, 2000. And so I thought, I'm a whitewater kayaker. I'm going to go check this thing out. You know, I didn't have a boat or anything with me, but so I drove our our van, down here and checked out the gorge games, found Hood River, and just fell in love with the gorge.
Hi, this is Tom Peterson with CCC News coming from you live here at the podcast studio on 409 Lincoln Street in the Dalles here. And I just wanted to shout out to the folks who've made donations to support us through the years. It's not possible without your help, and it makes the stories about our neighbors, friends, and the vital things happening in our communities possible. So I want to thank you. And to those that maybe you're considering a donation, could you look into it? It really would help support the staff here and the creation of the stories and the podcasts that you're hearing today. So thank you for your time, and you can always look and find more out about donations at CCCnews.com. So Scott, I wanted to bring something up. You were talking about volunteers and a lot of in-kind work that helps really make the parks work here with partnerships and that kind of thing. There was a gentleman that came to our attention, David Neatling, who had been working on Riverfront Trail for years, and he's recently passed, but he was just one spectacular volunteer for you.
And just a really interesting and wonderful individual. And, I remember the day I met him. Carl Kozat, a former park district director, was giving me a tour of the park district. We got to overlap for a few days, and he takes me out on the Riverfront Trail. And, as we're walking along, I asked him immediately, I'm like, when was the last time this was resealed? I can see the alligator edges. I can see that it's in desperate need of attention. And he says, oh, no, it's never been resealed, in his entire time there. But there's Dave. And Dave does a crack sealing. And while on this tour, we came across Dave. And so, so he stands up.
Yeah.
He shakes my hand. He hands me a shovel. And he that's his MO for everybody. If we're going to talk, you're going to work while we do it.
Yeah.
And so, come to find out that he single-handedly sealed about 3 miles worth of cracks.
Yeah.
Sometimes he turned receipts. Mostly he didn't. He mostly bought the sealer on his own. And I think 800 gallons of sealer. And just one crack at a time.
Yeah.
Starting just on his hands and knees. Yeah. What a labor of love. And I'm so thankful. I mean, his inspiration, I think, is what allowed us to go out to those other community partners, the port, the city, Northern Wasco PUD contributed money.
Right. I think Munson Paving kind of came in and helped out.
So we did, $300,000 worth of sealing and some repavement, some big section around Taylor Lake. That got destroyed by the tower replacement project from BPA.
Yeah.
They made it right. They wrote a check for $165,000 to repave that section. It's a nice, smooth section of the trail now. It was one of the worst parts.
Yeah.
Now it's one of the best parts. But, you'll hear me say again, Team Dalles. And it's not just, when I say community partners, I include those other government agencies, but it's also the people, the individuals volunteering their time. I mean, we can't have youth sports without youth coaches,
right?
Without umpires, right? And this is how you build community, and this is how you build strong people.
Yeah.
It's less about baseball or football. Yeah. It's more about the character that happens out on those fields.
I think that gets lost sometimes in the talk. But yeah, those times where we have, like, my girls were heavily invested in gymnastics and that kind of thing, and they were not superstars, and we knew they were never going to go on to college and be gymnasts. But we did know the hard work and the showing up and all the other things, the character that they had to have to do that sport. It just made all the difference in their formative years.
It does, and it's those adults, some of them with 2 jobs who still make it out to the field to coach those kids, and it's just getting harder and harder, and people are still showing up, and that's really where community is built, and that serves as an inspiration for those young people who will then come and be the future builders. Yeah, I think that I'm looking at these handprints at Treetop Playground. Yeah, we're going to be replacing here in fall of 2024, and those handprints, those kids. Yeah, are now in their 30s.
Right.
You know, we need them to come back and help build the next one, right? And keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And so, 26 years later, it's time for a new playground, and let's just keep doing it. We had that softball team this last year, right? I mean, they just killed it.
Yeah.
And so what pride for our crew when we saw the school district needed some help with the softball fields. And we were able, I challenged them. I said, hey, crew, if we get done everything on this list by Wednesday, you can spend Thursday, Friday at the softball fields. And they hustled and they got it done, and we were able to bounce over there.
So just to cap that off, that was the TDHS girls softball team that were champions last year. Set a home run record, like some really positive stuff. So your team was working extra hard to get over there and do
to make the fields worthy of that team.
Nice.
And then at the time we didn't know they were going to be so successful.
Yeah.
But when they're so successful, it's like we got to smile and just be like, we're not responsible for them winning.
Yeah.
But we got to share in the excitement. And share in the pride of the Dowels taking state.
Good. Huh. Fascinating. Well, very good. I want to thank you for coming today, Scott. It was fantastic to get an update on our parks and see where you guys are headed in the future. And welcome to come back anytime. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.